Okay, let's go ahead and stabilize some footage now. Let's go ahead and just start from scratch and clear this whole comp out. We'll go to File, Close Project, and you can save yours if you want to, but I'm not going to save mine. And I'm going to bring that footage back in. Don't forget, guys, you can go to File, Import Recent Footage, and let's bring in the lander. And we'll go to Import Recent Footage and bring in the meteor on a sheet. And then I'm going to drag the meteor out. And actually, we don't really need the lander for this, but hey, it's already there. And what we're going to do is we're going to, once again, just scrub the timeline just to see how shaky this is, and we can get a good sense of what's going to happen once we're done. Now, the goal of the stabilizer is to look at the footage, and instead of using one track point, we're going to use two. So we're going to lock on one here and one right about here, and then when we scrub, the meteor is going to stay put. Now, the way it actually works is it's moving our footage. So the footage itself is going to be doing all kinds of stuff like this while the rock stays still. So it's important, if you're going to do this, that you have some footage out here that you really don't mind losing on the screen. Okay, so I'm going to, once again, I'm going to trim this guy. So we only have a few seconds to work with. Okay, once again, composition, trim, comp to work area. And that'll give us a lot less to deal with. And we're also going to take a look over here and this little pop-up to show you that we're going to come back here in a minute and we're going to add a new track point. See, it's not highlighted yet because we don't have anything selected as far as our operation. So make sure our footage is selected. And we're going to choose Stabilize Motion. Now, we have a track point. Now, from my experience, one track point is typically not enough data for a stabilizer to function because it's only going to have one reference point. For it to really lock on, it's a good idea for us to have more than one. So let's grab our first track point and let's put it right back in the same spot we chose when we did our track. And I'll scale it up a little bit like this. Now we have one track point. Let's go to this little pop-up menu on the tracker panel, upper right-hand corner, and we're going to add a new track point. And we're going to have to look at a spot that's going to be good, and as I said before, I think this will work. Over here is horrible. There's not enough contrast. So let's go ahead and grab this guy, and we'll move it until we see a good locking point. Let's see here. I think that's going to work. And I'll scale it up. Now we have 2 points here. We have our motion source, which is the meteor on a sheet footage. The track type is no longer transform, it is stabilize. We don't have to worry about rotation and scale. We're only going to be dealing with position. As I mentioned in the last lesson, if you're going to have things spinning around and getting larger or smaller, then you might want to add these. We could also choose a target, but we're not really going to have anything track this. So this is not really relevant in this case. But sometimes you do want to have things, still locked on to this data. So what we're going to do is we're going to stabilize by analyzing this data forward. So go ahead and hit this button. And so far, both of these points are locking on to the areas we've selected, which is a good sign. As usual, I like to hit the home key on the keyboard and manually scrub and keep my eye on those track points. And this is just a nice way to confirm that I selected 2 good spots. Then I'm going to hit Apply. Once again, we're going to be asked what we want to track as far as the options, X and Y, X only or Y only. We're going to choose X and Y. We'll hit OK. And then we're brought out of the layer and back into our comp. You'll notice, by the way, the footage is actually offset a little bit. As I mentioned before, the way this works is it's going to move your footage. So it's really important that the subject matter is in the center so that you don't lose this footage when it plays back. So I'm going to hit home on my keyboard and I'm going to hit my space bar and the meteor should stay right about there. And there you have it, folks. You have stabilized footage. We got those stabilizers working and the ship can now land safely, Captain. That is how you can use the tracker and the stabilizer to really affect the way your footage is shown to your audience.